Ever played a game so good it made you forget what sleep is? Yes, same here. Today, we're diving into 14 masterpiece games rated 10/10 you must play right now. Not the overhyped stuff, but the ones that hit different. If you're ready for jaw-dropping worlds, flawless gameplay, and moments that'll stick with you long after the credits roll, let's get into it. Ever boot up a game and instantly feel like you've wandered into a living, breathing painting? That's exactly what happens with Breath of the Wild. You're tossed into this massive open world with nothing but a torn shirt, a stick, and your curiosity, and that's the magic of it. Every cliff begs to be climbed, every weird rock formation hides a mystery, and somehow even cooking feels like an adventure. It's not just about fighting monsters or chasing quests, it's about wandering off the path, paragliding into the unknown, and stumbling into something jaw-droppingly cool. Whether you're shield surfing down a mountain, setting grass on fire just to watch it spread, or getting launched into the sky by some wild physics nonsense, the game constantly rewards you for being bold and messing around. It doesn't hold your hand, it just lets you loose in a world that quietly dares you to explore, experiment, and just have fun. You're a game that hits you like a punch to the gut and a hug to the heart. That's exactly what God of War 2018 pulls off. You're not just swinging around that insanely satisfying axe. You're guiding Kratos through this wild, snow-drenched world, while figuring out how to be a halfway decent dad to a kid who's way smarter than he lets on. The combat's heavy and brutal but never messy, and every swing feels like it matters. And then there's the world itself, packed with ancient Norse madness, puzzle-filled dungeons, and creatures that go from wow to run in about 2 seconds. What really stands out, though, is how it all feels connected, like every step, every fight, and every quiet moment around a fire is building towards something bigger. It's deep, personal, and just straight up epic without ever needing to shout about it. If you haven't played it yet, seriously, you're missing something special. Ever get lost in a game so deep you forget what time it is, where you are, or even what day it is? That's exactly what happens with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. You step into the boots of a gruff, silver-haired monster hunter named Geralt. But what pulls you in isn't just the sword fights or the spells. It's the messy, layered world that reacts to pretty much everything you do. One minute you're hunting a beast through a haunted swamp. The next you're wrapped up in political drama, or helping a random villager with something that somehow turns into a full-blown emotional roller coaster. The choices you make actually matter, and the dialogue, sharp, grounded, and way more human than most games even attempt. Add in that ridiculous level of detail across forests, towns, mountains, and every shady inn in between, and it becomes less about playing a game and more about living in it. It's the kind of adventure where even the side quests leave a mark, and you're constantly pulled in a dozen directions, but you'll love every second of it. You know that feeling when a game doesn't just challenge you, but pulls you into its world so hard you forget the real one for a while? That's exactly what Elden Ring does, but on a whole new level. It drops you into this massive, haunting world, where everything looks like it has a story, even if no one tells it to you directly. You're left to figure things out on your own, and weirdly, that's what makes it so addicting. The exploration is wild. You'll head one way thinking you're just checking out a hill, and suddenly you're inside some underground city fighting something that shouldn't even exist. The freedom is ridiculous, the bosses hit like trucks, and every victory feels earned because nothing is handed to you. But it's not just about being hard, it's about discovery, about curiosity, about those tiny moments where something just clicks. Whether you're messing around with builds, hunting down secrets, or just admiring the sheer scale of the map, Elden Ring turns every step into its own adventure. It's one of those rare games where getting lost is the best part, and trust me, you will. Okay, let's be real. How many games make you worry about camouflage patterns, food poisoning, and boss fights that feel like psychological tests? Metal Gear Solid 3 is wild in the best way possible. You're tossed into this gritty jungle setting, stripped of high-tech gear, and left to rely on instincts, patience, and some seriously creative sneaking. It's not just about stealth, it's about survival. Crawling through thick brush, patching yourself up after a rough fight, or stalking enemies from the trees. The whole thing feels tense and immersive in a way that still holds up today. And the story? It slowly pulls you in with twists that actually stick, and characters who are way more layered than they first seem. Every little choice feels intentional, from how you approach combat to what you decide to eat. Yeah, you literally hunt your own food. It's not just a stealth game, it's a full-on experience. And the fact that it balances deep gameplay with cinematic storytelling so smoothly is what makes it unforgettable. But if you've never played it, or it's been a while, trust me, this is one of those games that hits harder the more you think about it. You ever play a game that doesn't just entertain you, it stays with you? That's exactly what The Last of Us pulls off. And it's not just about the infected or the post-apocalyptic setting, it's the way the whole journey feels grounded, heavy, and real. You're not mowing down enemies for fun here. Every encounter feels desperate, like you're surviving minute by minute with whatever you can scrape together: bricks, bottles, handmade gear. But what really makes it hit hard is the connection between the characters. As you push through ruined cities and overgrown roads, it's the small, quiet moments that sneak up on you, like hearing a joke at just the right time or watching trust slowly grow between two people who've lost everything. The pacing's tight, the world feels lived in, and the storytelling somehow makes a broken world feel painfully human. It's raw, it's intense, and honestly, it's one of those rare games that actually earns the weight it carries. If you want something that grips you emotionally and tests your survival instincts, this one absolutely delivers. Ever play a game that somehow turns your school life, dungeon crawling, and time management into one of the most addictive experiences ever? That's what Persona 5 Royal pulls off, and somehow it never feels overwhelming. You're living a double life, bouncing between being a regular high school student by day and diving into these surreal, twisted mind palaces by night, all while managing friendships, exams, and your sanity. The game constantly throws style at you, like actual style. Every menu, every animation, every transition feels like it was designed to make you say, wait, that was cool. But it's not just flash, it's got depth. The choices you make matter, not just in battle, but in the way your character grows emotionally and socially. And when it comes to combat, it's snappy, strategic, and somehow makes turn-based fights feel fast and exciting. What really hooks you, though, is how personal it all feels. You're building relationships, solving messed up problems, and watching your crew come together in a way that feels earned. It's weird, it's stylish, and once it clicks, it's the kind of game that eats up your free time in the best way possible.
This one. Let's go. All right.
You ever jump into a game and instantly feel like the world is trying to tear you apart just for showing up? That's Bloodborne in a nutshell, but weirdly, that's exactly what makes it so gripping. You're thrown into this eerie, gothic nightmare of a city where everything feels diseased and dangerous. And instead of holding your hand, the game dares you to keep moving forward, blade in hand and instincts firing. Combat is fast, aggressive, and forces you to stay sharp. There's no hiding behind a shield here. You've got to dive in, hit hard, and stay on the offensive. The atmosphere is thick, like you can almost feel the fog settling on your shoulders as you explore crumbling alleys and twisted cathedrals, never knowing what grotesque thing is waiting around the next corner. But beyond the horror and the challenge, there's this deep sense of mystery, like the game's constantly whispering secrets it dares you to figure out. It's brutal, it's cryptic, and when you finally conquer a boss that felt impossible 10 minutes ago, the rush is unreal. Bloodborne doesn't just test your skills, it pulls you into a world that's as fascinating as it is disturbing, and once you're hooked, there's no turning back. There's something wild about jumping into a game that came out years ago and still feeling like it's ahead of its time. And that's exactly what happens with Half-Life 2. The moment you step into that bleak dystopian world, it just pulls you in with its weird silence and eerie atmosphere, like the game itself is watching you. And then the gameplay hits, not just guns and enemies, but physics puzzles that actually make you stop and think, like using the environment as a weapon or figuring out how to cross a path that shouldn't even exist. The gravity gun alone feels like a playground for creativity, letting you mess around with objects in ways that never get old. But it's the pacing that really stands out. No endless cutscenes or tutorials, just a constant forward push where every moment feels like part of something bigger. It's quiet when it needs to be, loud when it counts, and somehow manages to tell a story without holding your hand or stopping the action. Whether it's your first run or your fifth, it still hits that perfect balance of mystery, tension, and just straight up cool design. If you've never played it, you're in for something special. And if you have, you already know why it's still legendary. You ever play a game where the silence says more than words ever could? Shadow of the Colossus drops you into this massive, hauntingly empty world, with nothing but your horse, a sword, and a mission that feels both epic and deeply personal. There's no crowd of enemies, no long-winded tutorials, just you hunting down these towering creatures that feel like living, moving landscapes. Each fight is like a puzzle, where figuring out how to climb these giants and bring them down is more about timing and observation than brute force. And in between those battles, you're riding through this beautiful, desolate land that somehow feels full of emotion, even though there's barely a sound. The game doesn't tell you how to feel, it just lets the journey unfold, and you kind of discover the weight of what you're doing along the way. It's one of those rare games that makes you stop and take it all in, not just for the visuals, but for the strange sense of quiet power it carries. If you've never played it, don't expect a typical action game. Expect something more thoughtful, more poetic, and honestly unforgettable. You know that feeling when you start a game and instantly smile because you can tell it's going to be a blast? That's exactly what Super Mario Odyssey delivers from the very first minute. It's pure joy packed into a wild globe-trotting adventure. You're not just running and jumping like the old days. Now you've got this magical hat that lets you take over everything from frogs to tanks to giant stone statues, and it turns every level into a surprise playground. Each world feels completely different, from bustling cities to icy landscapes to surreal dreamlike zones. And the game never stops throwing weird, fun stuff at you. The movement is crazy smooth, like you can bounce off walls, dive mid-air, chain together jumps, and it all feels super responsive, like Mario's just doing parkour for fun. And even after beating it, there's still so much to find if you're the kind of player who loves exploring every corner. It's the kind of game that reminds you why you fell in love with gaming in the first place. Not because it's hard or deep, but because it's just straight up fun from start to finish. You ever boot up a game and within 5 minutes realize it's not going to hold your hand, it's just going to shove you face first into its weird, brilliant world and let you figure it out? That's exactly what Disco Elysium does. It drops you into the shoes of the most broken, confused detective you've ever seen and basically says good luck. But that's where the magic is. It's not about combat or flashy graphics. It's about diving into the mind of this guy and letting you shape his thoughts, choices, and even his inner arguments. You'll be talking to your own emotions, debating your impulses, and solving a murder while unraveling your own past in a gritty, surreal city that somehow feels more alive than most open worlds. Every conversation feels like it matters, and depending on how you play, your detective can be a genius, a disaster, or something hilariously in between. It's bold, it's strange, and if you're the kind of player who loves story-driven games that actually challenge how you think, then Disco Elysium is one of those rare gems that sticks with you long after the credits roll.
Itself around the Capeside apartments, in a nearly forgotten part of that glorified construction site, surrounded by rusted pieces of scaffolding and walls of faded tarpaulin. A detective of the RCM debates the intricacies.
It demands great faith with no promise of tangible reward. But that doesn't mean we can simply give up.
Ever had one of those moments where you're just cruising down a sun-soaked highway, no mission active, just the radio blasting while the city lives and breathes around you, and you realize you've been playing for hours without even touching the story? That's the kind of freedom Grand Theft Auto V throws at you. It's not just about heists and chaos, though there's plenty of that. It's about slipping into this crazy, exaggerated version of Los Angeles, where every street corner feels like it's got a story to tell. Switching between 3 completely different characters keeps the gameplay constantly fresh. And whether you're skydiving, racing, running from the cops, or just messing around in the open world, there's always something that pulls you back in. The game doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's what makes it so addictive. It's massive, it's ridiculous, and it still somehow manages to feel grounded when it wants to. If you've never played it, you're missing out on one of the wildest sandboxes gaming's ever delivered, and if you have, chances are, you're probably already thinking about loading it up again.
Ordinance. So, here's the plan. We're gonna go about our business the traditional way. Take their shit, sell it as our own. You like that, huh? Man, I knew you would. We just gotta bring their plane down low, force it to drop the cargo, and deliver it ourselves. How route is they fast?
You ever play a game so detailed that you forget you're actually playing and not just living in it? That's what happens with Red Dead Redemption 2. It's like getting dropped into the most beautifully rugged, lived-in version of the Old West you've ever imagined, where every campfire, saloon, and muddy trail feels like it's got weight and purpose. You're not just going from mission to mission. You're out there hunting, fishing, talking to strangers, brushing your horse, and just being Arthur Morgan in a world that moves with or without you. The story hits hard, the characters grow on you fast, and the smallest choices often come back in ways you don't expect. And yeah, the shootouts and heists are wild, but honestly, sometimes it's the quiet moments, watching the sunset on a ridge or playing a song by the fire, that stick with you most. It's the kind of game that doesn't rush you, and honestly, you won't want to rush it either. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. Man, talking through these 14 masterpiece games, rated 10/10 you must play right now, really reminded me why I love gaming in the first place. If you had a favorite from the bunch or think one got overlooked, drop it in the comments. I always love hearing what you guys are into. And hey, if this vibe's your thing and you want to hang out again next time, hitting that like and sub button helps way more than you'd think. Thanks for kicking back with me today. Catch you in the next one.